If you are an international student looking to study abroad, this is the one test that you have to give. So needless to say, it becomes one of the most important pieces of information that goes with your application. So you can't mess up. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. And as you can see, things have changed. All this background around me, we're in a completely new and different environment. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to go over what the scoop is on this entire background that you see here. But let's get back to our video and talk about the TOEFL exam. So the basic idea is to gauge a student's comfort level with the English language, because I know that if you're even, watching this video, maybe your school is actually taught in English and all your exams are written in English. In most countries, foreign, English is treated as a second language. And as an international student, you cannot get by without writing the English Proficiency Test. Now, out of all of the different types of tests out there, one of the more popular ones, and I personally took this, was the TOEFL test. So with everything that has happened the last year, some of the requirements that universities provide, like SATs, ACTs, GREs, have all been waived in some way or another, but something that has remained constant in the whole college application process is the English proficiency requirement. None of the universities have cancelled this, and this exactly goes to show how important this test is. Now, there is an abundance of options available that you can take to actually write this English proficiency test, but let's talk about the TOEFL test and what advantages that has over these other exams. I personally took TOEFL and I couldn't recommend it more to anyone who's planning to apply abroad. So step one into trying to apply abroad is to actually choose which English proficiency exam you should take, because this is a pretty important decision. Now, the two more popular exams include TOEFL and IELTS. Now, while both of these are widely known, TOEFL really takes it out of the park because it's accepted in over 160 countries with over 11,500 institutions, not just in the US, but Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, and even New Zealand. So when you're applying to universities, now I want to talk about some of the basic English proficiency requirements that you may come across. Now, there are three distinct types. There may be one case where a university has a minimum cutoff for their TOEFL test. That means that you need to score anywhere above this number to actually be eligible to even apply. The second type is where they may not have a cutoff per se, but they'll probably mention an average score, like students applying to this universities on average scored around this range. This gives you a gauge of where you stand depending on the score that you receive. The third type of universities are those that have TOEFL as an optional choice to actually upload with your college application. Now, the main purpose of these universities by having this score as optional is so that later on they may have an interview process where an actual person may talk to you and kind of gauge your communication skills. So I took the TOEFL test about 4 years ago, and wow, okay, that makes me sound really old. And things were a little different back then. One, I had to actually physically go to a test center, and it was a 4-hour-long test. Now, thankfully, that entire testing process has been reduced to 3 hours with brand new, optimized questions to, stay on track and keep things interesting for students. But not only that, there was just something about going to a test center at that time that would just make me nervous. And I want to talk about some of the interesting changes that TOEFL has brought for you guys as students, and that'll just take all of this extra anxiety away. So 2 years into the making, TOEFL released its at-home edition of the actual test right during the time the entire world went into lockdown, and it helped so many students. You could essentially take this TOEFL test at home, and it wasn't just something that was rushed into. They spent a good amount of time actually making this change for the students. It made it more accessible to students who didn't have test centers near them. It also made it accessible to those students who had to travel far away to get to these tests on time. I know that when I gave this test, I had to travel over an hour, just beating traffic and just that stress of reaching on time for your exam. That should just be taken away. As a student, we ourselves have that anxiety of actually taking the test. All the other things need to be pushed aside. So that's the exact goal that TOEFL had while making this home edition test. And to add to these cornucopia of features, TOEFL also included the acceptance of ID cards as Aadhaar cards in India for students who didn't have passports available make it much more accessible to you guys. So since TOEFL has added this new feature in its home edition test, let's kind of take a quick walkthrough and see how this whole testing process works so you can get a rough idea of what you're actually in for before committing to anything. Now, essentially, if you're watching this video, you pretty much have everything you need to actually take this TOEFL home edition test. So essentially, you would need a fast internet connection, a laptop with a webcam, and a microphone. That's pretty much about it. You would have an online proctor that would sit with you via some sort of a video conferencing app and just monitor you while you actually take the test. So it would be like virtual live essentially. And that's pretty much about it. You would sit in a room, they would just check your surroundings, and for the entire 3-hour duration, you would take all 4 sections of the TOEFL test, similar to the way you would if you were at a testing center site. So at this point, like let's say you've decided that you want to take the TOEFL test. In fact, you want to take the home edition because it makes the most sense. So how do you actually go about prepping for the exam? Now, when I gave the exam, I did all the prep that I needed to at home because of 2 reasons. One, everything was available for free. As an international student, we already have the burden of paying for, college application fee. The tuition fee as an international student is higher. So, anywhere you can save money matters a lot. And the second thing, since I studied at home, I could study at my own pace and kind of pay attention to the areas that I struggled with most. And I spent a good amount of 4 to 6 months studying just using the online free material that was available on their website. Just like a pro tip that I would give you guys is try to take as many practice tests as you can. These are also available free to you guys on the TOEFL website. So nothing is paid here. It's all about how much you can actually practice and answer those questions in the 3 hours allotted to you. Now, with all this preparation, I scored a 118 out of 120 in my test, and I feel like that was a pretty good score to achieve with the prep that I had done. Now, one of the other cool features that I came across that TOEFL has recently launched is the MyBest Score feature. Now, essentially, as you guys are aware, there are 4 sections in the TOEFL exam: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Now, let's say you give 2 sets of TOEFL exams, both home edition, of course. The first set, you do really well on your reading section, whereas the second set, you do really well on your writing section. This My Best Score feature allows you to compile your best scores out of all of the TOEFL attempts so that you can send the colleges the best overall score that you have in the English Proficiency Test. Essentially, what they're allowing you to do is put your best foot forward. And that's what we preach through the Crazy Medusa channel. So I'm super excited and stoked for this feature. And this isn't something that TOEFL just pulled out of the blue randomly for you guys. Universities also accept the My Best Score feature. So if your cumulative score, as long as your best scores aggregate to their minimum or cutoff or average scores, you should be all set. So at this point, if you're still kind of like confused about which exam to take, a couple other things to keep in mind is that TOEFL kind of outranks every other English proficiency exam. And I know that while applying, at least when I was applying, I just wasn't applying to one university. I applied to a good 15 to 20 universities. Some of them were in different countries even. So if you're applying to multiple countries, TOEFL seems like the right way to go because you just have to write one English proficiency exam and that's it, you're done with it. So with TOEFL constantly improving the way that they actually give questions to the student, as well as the shortened test time, and not to forget the My Best Score feature, as well as the TOEFL home edition that has recently launched, it cannot get better than this as a student. So since you guys are part of the Crazy Medusa family, I have a 2-part giveaway for you guys. Now, any student who wants to take the TOEFL test in India can get $10 off of the exam using the coupon code CM10. And the second part of the giveaway is that ETS has been kind enough to provide 3 giveaway winners these goodies that you see on the screen. Now, if you are residing in India, comment down below what countries you're applying to and for what intake. I'll pick 3 random winners that will get these goodies. And of course, you have to be subscribed to the Crazy Medusa channel to be eligible for this giveaway. Now, with everything related to college applications, the key thing is to do your research to understand your deadlines, your cutoffs, as well as give yourself enough time to practice and actually take these various exams that you have to. So my advice to you would be to actually know what you're aiming for, so that you have a goal, and give yourself enough time to practice. Don't try to cram all of this in 24 hours. There are a ton of free resources available, and if you don't give yourself enough time, you'll just kind of like look around for shortcuts and end up spending hundreds of dollars on something that you can really do very easily for free, at least the prep part of it. So definitely check out TOEFL, the home edition, and do your research when it comes to the English proficiency exams. So you shouldn't be spending hundreds of dollars trying to take an exam that you can literally prep for free. I will leave the link to all the free prep material in the description below, as well as a link to the TOEFL at home edition for you guys in the description of this video. So definitely check that out. Leave any comments if you have any questions related to anything that we spoke about. And come on, like, subscribe. If you're watching till this point and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? You want to be in a giveaway? Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Take care, like this video, share it with a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.